I'm Nariba Shepherd.
And I'm Justin Arnett Graham.
And this
is Terms of Service.
Hot fire.
Every time we nail it, it gets smoother and smoother.
The other one was a little rough today, but
it's okay.
But it came together.
Yes, and see, we're back at it.
Yep.
It is Sunday morning again. So a good morning, party people. Hello, hi. We're coming at you again.
At 12:50 p.m. in the morning.
Yes, 12:50 p.m. in the morning. So yes, happy afternoon. That is correct. Just coming at you again from our friends at Blind Barber. This is exciting.
With a new friend. Hi, new friend.
Hi, Lisa Shaw.
Hi.
How are you?
I am great.
How are you feeling?
I am excited to be here.
Great. Well, we're excited to have you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
I just want to go ahead and be like, Lisa Shaw looks like a beautiful, hydrated, and moisturized Black woman. The skin is glowing.
Poppin'.
Accessories.
Poppin'.
Everything.
Everything.
We have a red lip. There's a fun tidbit going around that says that men don't like red lipstick, and I have been waiting to put on my red lipstick
what men think about red
for
lipstick.
days, and
you
you inspired
that
me.
shit.
So, wow. Is she matte? It looks good.
Oh, yes, she is.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, well, again, I stand by what I just said, which, Lisa, you rock whatever it is that you want to rock. That goes for all the ladies out there. That goes for literally anybody.
Yeah.
So do your thing. And
Yes.
also, welcome back from Jamaica.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah.
Tell me what it was like to leave this rock.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was so restful. I that's all I did was eat, sleep, drink, repeat. And
Right.
it was fabulous.
And sometimes you just need to do that in different air,
for sure.
different climate.
Yo,
For sure.
know, and
After the year we had, I think it was definitely necessary to
Necessary and overdue.
I
for
want to
sure.
go to Trinidad, and my mom just told me she bought a ticket and she'll be here next month. And I'm like, God damn it, Sharon.
Oh,
I'm trying to go to Trinidad. And
you're like,
you
I'm
are
trying
here.
to go there.
Yeah.
But yet you decided to come here.
Well, she has to.
I mean, that's fair.
I know.
But,
All her children live here.
that, okay, yeah, very, very fair. Well,
You know what time it is. It's sign time.
it is sign time. And Nariba, kick us off.
Well, what do you know what your sign is? Do you want to talk to us about?
my sign. Okay, so my birthday is actually June 19th. It's Juneteenth.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Come through federal holiday.
Yes.
Yes.
So that makes me a Gemini.
Yep. The old cuspy. Because
Yes.
so
it is.
So
Definitely.
like people are always like Geminis are rough, and I'm like, y'all are just specific,
very.
And I don't want to like sound like a crazy person, but because of the cusp, I feel a lot of like warmth around you, and I'm like, is that Cancer energy that carries it over? And so like I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Also, like, change my opinion on Geminis today because you feel like magic.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, and
I
also
love to
that is
love.
not a read against the past Geminis that we
No. It's not a
at
read
all.
against the past Geminis.
'Cause everyone
it's
is
just
different.
I have a specific understanding of Geminis, but as a cusp person, you're like giving me life because my brother is a cusp and he's the worst. I love him, but he's the worst.
Well, Nariba, is everything okay?
Yeah, no, everything's great. I was just having a moment of like, you're a great person, and it makes sense that you would be a Gemini Cancer cusp. And I'm excited to like, I feel like the conversation itself will explain what that combo means along the
Oh, for
way.
sure.
Yeah.
So I'm ready.
Perfect. Well, Miss Lisa Shaw of Lisa's Boutique Catering. Yes, let's get into it. If you could introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your background so we can get to know who you are. Because I know you as an absolutely wonderful human being.
And I know you as someone I followed on Instagram before I knew Justin.
Wow.
Yeah.
So look at that.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
Look at the power. Look at
I
the
love
power of
it.
social media.
I love it.
Yeah, and the power of good energy.
You damn right.
Yes. So there it is.
I'm obsessed with her already.
Okay, well,
So,
it's only going to build. It's only going to build because that's exactly how I feel.
No.
So yes.
Stop talking nicely about me. I'm right here.
We're going to keep it going.
Okay, fine.
yeah.
But yeah, Lisa, hi, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Justin.
Again, thank you for being here. Now, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
So, hey, you know what? Straight out of Brooklyn. I have to say it. I'm a New Yorker.
Yeah.
Damn right.
Living in beautiful Chicago.
Yeah.
So Lisa's Boutique Catering is exactly what it is. It's a boutique catering business that we specialize in creating events, curate menus tailored to the individual client.
Yeah.
I literally started this business because of my love for people, my love for bringing people to the table. It's kind of like that Sunday dinner, you know, my grandmother we would set the table and the whole family would squeeze around this table. And we would just have this amazing meal. And it was something that was just so meaningful, and particularly in the African American community.
Yeah.
And I think that we have kind of lost sight of that, and it's something that I fight for in my own household.
110.
When folks come over to my house for dinner, no, it's literally like platters plated, and that's how my kids and my husband, they eat every night, you know. When I
Come through,
prepare
Regal.
food.
I'm like, don't say it too loud because my partner's out here probably expecting something. And I'm like, when people come over, I cook. If it's just us, rock, paper, scissors. It's chopped every day.
Yeah.
Funny. Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Sometimes, you know, we do eat out. But it's very important to me to have that family unit around the table. That's how we build those traditions. You know, we learn more about each other. Having those organic conversations.
Making time.
And making time, most importantly.
Absolutely.
You know, we live in a country that is definitely, you know, workforce driven.
Yeah.
And although people, you know, claim they get these 2-week, 3-week vacations, unfortunately, we have to fight for them.
Where?
Right?
Yeah.
Who?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's about creating space, you know.
Yeah.
But my business is basically about bringing people to the dinner table. And one of my favorite things to do, I haven't been able to do it here in Chicago just yet, but I love to host tastings. But I love to do it based on regions from around the world and bringing people together and having conversations around that. And somehow we always spin off talking about amazing life stories, you know. So
Would you say that you have set the table for these conversations?
There it is. Slang danging it.
There it is. There it is. So stop it. I won't.
I love it.
Go on.
Give
Go
us
on.
more.
Go on.
So, you know, in addition to Lisa's Boutique Catering, we have this amazing gourmet coffee cake business called the Coffee Girls Coffee Cakes.
You're damn right. Yes. Yes, she does.
I didn't know about her.
Yes. She's about
Okay.
to tell you.
So the coffee cakes are literally, it's based from my grandmother's sour cream pecan coffee cake. And I freaked the freak on it and started infusing alcohol in it. So I have like a rosé all day, blueberry prosecco. I'm working on this amazing bourbon pecan for the fall. And, you know, it's basically my brainchild, you know.
Listen.
It's something that I found my niche, you know, within my, you know, industry, and the cakes are doing so well. We just went wholesale.
Stop it. Stop it.
They're, you know, so I am just so excited. You know, this journey, anyone in this industry knows how grueling it can be. More or less stepping out on faith and starting your own business.
I was going to say, like, first of all, I'm going to have to deep dive on
Of course.
That coffee cake a little bit later. But how did you, like, get to here, like, industry-wise? Were you in the food service industry at all, or was it just like, this is my love and this is how I got here?
A little bit of both, right? So again, back to the, you know, one of my great fondest memories is like my great grandmother, my mother, and myself, and we were in Charleston, South Carolina, and we were cooking dinner. And only job I had was to chop vegetables, but I felt so good because I was like, oh my gosh, I get to be in the kitchen,
That prep.
with the prep. But it was so exciting because I knew that when everybody ate the food, all the cooks who prepared the food got a kiss. So I was like, I'm gonna get a kiss, So it was like me, just this little girl, just super excited to be a part of this meal, and knowing that I participated only just to get a kiss from my uncles.
That
It's
love,
like
though.
how good,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
The food was. So just to kind of
I could tell my family about that tradition. I was just like, you better give me a hug if I made you a whole meal. I was just like, let's talk about that. But now continue.
With that said, especially growing up in that particular generation, there was a lot of, conflict, in the family, still. But that was the one thing that brought us together was Sunday dinner. In my journey, without going too far down the rabbit hole, my mom suffered some traumas in her life. She became a teenage mom. Me and my oldest brother are a product of that, and I have two younger brothers. So by the time my mom was 25, she was a single mother of 4. And, I admire my mother, but life happened to her, you know what I mean? And she got caught up in the crack epidemic, and a lot of things just happened that forced me to choose between family and survival.
Yeah.
And I chose survival.
Yep.
So I ended up leaving, my two younger brothers, and we went back to New York on a train with one of my uncles escorted us, but then we were immediately separated. They went to Brooklyn, I went to Long Island, and I ended up in this amazing organization where we promoted entrepreneurship. And I, in high school, ended up starting this cookie business where some of my, peers were walking around with wads of cash because they were drug dealers. I was walking around with a wad of cash because I was selling cookies.
You damn right.
So who has munchies? You need a bag of cookies?
Exactly.
So, it's kind of like, but,
Amazing.
So me and one of my best friends 30 years now, we started this cookie business, and we were able to, that was like that spinoff of entrepreneurship. And oh my God, listen, I did locks and twists. I mean, I had so many little side hustles going on in order to survive.
Yep.
Yeah.
And somehow in this hustle, I ended up on Wall Street working for a bank, and I thank God I was there because I, met my husband, reconnected with my husband who I went to high school with, who.
That you? Oh, hey.
was our,
Hi, Derek.
our first date was inside the World Trade Center.
Oh.
And so, of course, life happened around that. But after the World Trade Center, disaster, I looked and, I was like, you know what? I only have one life and I need to live it to its fullest potential.
That's real as hell.
Absolutely.
I quit my job. And at this point, I was throwing these supper club type parties. Like, we would literally move out all of our furniture and bring in tables and set the table and turn it into a restaurant. I turned my apartment into a pop-up restaurant
And the
before it was
restaurant
actually
would turn into a kickback,
Before
because I've heard
pop-up
some of these
restaurants were a
stories
thing.
before. So,
and
yes.
it was fabulous.
Yeah.
And my friends were like, what are you doing? You can make this a business. And honestly, that's how it started. I was like, okay, I told him, he was just my fiance at the time. And I was like, I am quitting my job and I'm going to culinary school. I feel crazy, but I was like, I need to do this. Because I at that point, hadn't solidified exactly what I wanted to do with my life.
That's real. Wait, what culinary program did you do?
I obviously wanted to go to, CIA, but I was pregnant. So I ended up going to the Art Institute in New York City, down on Varick Street, formerly known as the New York Restaurant School.
Yes.
Which was an awesome experience. One of the best decisions I ever made in my life. I went to school and it felt like summer camp every day. Like, you're just doing what you love and knowing that this was going to happen. Of course, I was going back to school in my 30s, and I had 2 babies while in school.
Yo,
and
I'm finna do that right now.
and
I'm ready. I'm preparing.
you know,
So you're giving me encouragement that I'm
Yes.
not like doing it wrong.
you're not doing it wrong at all. And there's no wrong or right way. There's first of all, you can't just
I mean,
plan
there
for it.
is
There's
a
a
Yes,
right
there is a right
yeah,
way
there's a
of
right
doing
way.
of doing things, but I meant like when you there's timing.
Yeah.
It's
You never know.
You just never know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just, for me, I am very grateful that most things that have happened in my life has just happened organically. So I try not to question it,
Yo, same.
I try not to, but then we do, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
But I have to say, when you are living in your skin, it could be a lonely place sometimes.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
some folks around you aren't ready for that. You know what I mean? I can sometimes be that person that, I'm so loving and caring. I am so excited about life. I'm like up in your face, like, hey, you can do it, I'm trying to, just be that, person
there.
of encouragement. But, sometimes people tend to resent that because that's not their path,
And so that's a
real.
thing that I'm recently coming to terms with is like the things that I want to do, and I'm very clear about it. It's hard for other people to see it because they think of me as being good at these other things, but it's not necessarily the thing that I'm passionate about. And
It's
what
gonna
I'm
box
starting-
you in.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to like learn or unlearn is that like you don't have to do one thing your whole life because that doesn't necessarily like make you happy or is good for you. And learning that people change their career so many times in their lifetime made me feel a lot better about, like, for lack of a better like phrase, fucking up and like trying something new or different. And
Absolutely.
it's just, I'm very excited for the opportunity to like move forward with what I already went to school for by going back to school and furthering that education.
Absolutely.
And I love the like culinary journey that I've got. Like you said, I essentially did a summer camp version of culinary school right after I graduated from college to then go into the food service industry. And that 3-month program made me feel more fulfilled than the whole 4 years of undergrad.
Exactly.
But then the thing is like getting into the food service as it is now over like 8 or 9 years, all of that got pulled out for me because I only enjoyed cooking at work and I didn't enjoy doing it for myself because I'm someone that is a giver. And I feel like a lot of people in the food service industry tend to be givers.
This is true.
Because we're used to like making other people's like dreams come true essentially with our services. So it's like, for me, I'm now starting to understand that like if I'm not happy doing something, I do not have to stay here, because in the food service industry, they don't give you that option.
No.
They're like, wherever you're at, this is it.
Yep.
This is as high as you can go. And like, they keep you where they want you to be. And by like going through the motions of it, I've learned that the passion that you want to inspire in people is the love and not the tech.
Correct.
Because you can learn all of that technical stuff as you're going, but you can't teach someone to love it.
No, you cannot.
You know?
And
But yet they'll expect you to.
exactly,
Yeah.
and that's where sometimes our industry falls short, right? Because the love is allowing that person to grow and flourish, right? So if we're so-called creating these experience external of ourselves, and we're not filling our people back up, our employees back up, we lose every time.
Yeah.
And that was one of my issues when I worked in the industry, and why I had to leave.
Yeah.
Like you said, they're so focused on what you're good at, and they're not willing to allow you to grow past that, or pay you for it.
Or pay for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I think, with the pandemic, there's definitely has been a reckoning in our industry because we got slammed really hard. But hearing why a lot of people left and why they're not coming back was sad for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Was it sad in like, it's a truth, or was it sad as in like, I didn't understand the extent to which?
Oh no, it was the truth.
It was the truth.
It was the truth. Like, you know, because I was one of them, you know, not, you know, I mean, I left long before, with the pandemic, but I had just started, you know, my business and was so excited to hire people and treat them with that love and respect that we all deserve. Yeah. It's about caring for the individual, caring for yourself and filling your own cup.
Yeah, I do wonder, is a lot of that truth, is it coming to terms with that silent truth of the cost of being a part of the industry? Because what it sounds like to me is we're gonna talk about this quite extensively. It's almost like you're righting the wrongs that you have experienced throughout your career, right?
Yep.
So, and that becomes like such a weird and unique cross to bear because you didn't do that shit,
Right?
you know. But you're trying to soothe someone else's trauma because you can identify with said trauma, so you don't want to facilitate the cycle.
Correct.
So yeah.
But so I feel like it's sort of like with parenting where we're like, we don't want to be like our parents to a
Right.
certain
The
extent.
cycle stops now.
But then you like slowly turn into them. And I think the difference between what I feel like we are doing now in this time is actually learning from repeating the mistakes of the people before us and trying to like undo that cycle. So it's a work of like not being a Columbus type and coming in and being like, none of that shit used to work, let's throw it out and start over. But like understanding the culture as it stands before you like try to change it.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason that some of these things were set into place. And I'm not trying to like make it okay for any of the shit that happened in the food service industry. What I'm saying is like, people were never taught that different way, and now we are starting to learn that different way.
Yeah.
And the old school dudes are like, but some of this stuff matters, and I'm like, to an extent, but like, you don't need to break someone down like this is a prison system to build them back up again.
I mean, let's be honest. Most of the people who are working in the food service industry, such as the servers, busboys, those folks are struggling to take care of their families.
Yeah.
They are coming from traumas. These are people who were told they, like high school dropouts. Like some of them were already feeling worth or dealing with their own traumas.
Yeah.
You don't understand at home or whatever. So to come into an environment to work and you have to go home and face some whatever you have to deal with. I'm just speaking from experience.
Yeah.
Have been one of those people.
Same.
Grew up, worked myself up through the ranks, and now having to be a manager to a lot of these people. And I cared for my staff. Like, I loved on them. And I'm telling you, you got to be a mother, sister, brother, psychologist. Like, you have to be able to be flexible when you are working with certain folks who've come from these
Different backgrounds.
backgrounds,
And it's hard.
and the cultural respect, most importantly.
That's the thing. It's like, you have to remember that like people are walking through the door with all of this shit, and you don't know what any of it is, and you can't just like be ragging on people, which is a thing that like I never thought about. Even when I was one of those people coming into work with a loss in the family, but I'm still here for the 12 hours, even though it's traumatic. And then I have like someone else being like, well, I was able to do it. And it's like your lack of sensitivity about your stuff shouldn't desensitize my reality.
Well, because it also becomes self-serving at the exact same token, and it's really interesting to be like, all right, well, we want to be part of the solution because we are so familiar with the problem, and some people may be identifying with the fact that they are the problem, but that effort in change always seems to be literally stifled by ego. And you have to make that conscious decision to where you're like, well, I just don't care, because as I've mentioned in episodes prior, to where you're making decisions in a manner to where you know that the results of said decisions do not affect you.
Yeah.
And whether, again, that's ego, it's capitalism, it's all of these, different variables. But I personally feel like throughout the industry, if just everyone took that moment to be like, you know what, I want to be better today than I was yesterday, but not to be better today because it's for me, but it's better for us.
Everyone. Yeah. Damn right.
Amen. Take us to church already.
I just
Sunday.
Because it was just it was on. It is a Sunday, y'all. So yes,
it's on the agenda.
Yes, I was like, oh, line item, we're going to church.
Yeah.
So welcome.
Yes,
but it's just really something that I had to say, because it's such a fine line by being like the knowledge of the experience versus the ignorance of the experience. It's like I hear everything that you're saying, Nariba. I just also at the same time, I'm like, again, if you are making a choice to be an asshole today, you're making a choice to continue to be an asshole because there is no negative blowback on your behavior.
this is true.
So and I'm just gonna mention that right there, because, and I will say it again from the rafters, because it is so important for people to hear and really have that resonate. And Lisa, you touched upon it briefly. I would like to really explore some of the challenges, additional challenges that you face throughout your time within the industry that were anchored in the industry. I know that when we were getting to know one another, you had talked to me about mentors that you have had, people that have really kind of like help guide your way. But not all glitters gold, right? So I'd like, within your realm of comfortability, to talk about some unfortunate realities of being in the industry, also being a Black woman in the kitchen in the industry, how you kind of navigate that.
I mean, if you want to take a deep sip before we...
I would love to do a deep sip,
because we about to need that abuelita power behind us. Shout out to Juanita's Bebidas. That's my girl.
Yes.
Bebidas. Rochelle and Mayan. We're just gonna have some polita. Is she a little bit spicy? A little tequila-y. The tomatoes makes me feel the brunchy vibes.
Yes,
so
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait to buy it.
But yes.
Thank you, Justin.
And I'm sure that she can't wait to sell it as well, because she's been selling it out here. So yes, we'll get you all that information. Yes. Perfect. Go on, Lisa.
I definitely want to compliment you both. Just setting the tone and creating such a safe space. I think your listeners need to understand how safe and beautiful and the energy is here right now. So I just wanted to say that very quickly.
Thank you. We tried.
Thank you.
Yes.
I will tell you this. Being a Black woman in the industry, but just being a Black woman living in this country to start. When you come, for most African Americans who grew up and faced trauma in their lives, and sometimes your family, you have relatives, people who don't know what they don't know. And if they haven't, it's not that they didn't inspire, but when you're taught, I came from a first generation out of civil rights movement. So they were just getting their footing. So I remember one time when my brother said he wanted to be president of the United States, and she was like, black man be president of the United States, and I won't see it in my lifetime, and you won't either. But it
I
happened.
mean,
Yeah.
Not in her lifetime. She died before it happened, but it happened.
Sorry to hear that.
So, but we would hear these things that we can't. I always hear, it's not that they meant to say it in that way, but they were just like, look, just get a job, just, get married, have kids.
Keep your head down.
And keep your head down and work. That's what we
And
were.
stay out of trouble.
Stay out of trouble
silent.
and be silent, especially as a woman. Like, you are seen and not heard. I resented that.
Yeah.
And I rebelled against it every single time because I'm like, you are not about to tell me what I can do.
You're damn right.
So in the industry, when I love challenging myself, but there are some things that you just have to know when there are certain fights that aren't worth fighting at that time.
Yep.
So
What's
my
that
point?
statement? You know how to like hold them and like know how to fold them. Like I think. I
Kenny
think
Rogers.
Yes. I think. I
We are
think that what it
quoting
was.
Kenny
There
Rogers.
we go.
I love it.
There
I
is.
actually like that song too.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, so you got to fly underneath the radar sometimes, and because being that Generation X, you come out, you swinging. I was in the kitchen, and I was one of the only women in the kitchen, women of color, and it was very dogmatic. It was very that traditional, like the man, I'm in charge. And you are strictly doing garde manger and pastry.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, that's not even what I want to do.
Yes.
But that's where
They push you.
That's where they push you.
Yep.
They didn't even know any better. I once had a guy literally fire me, and he had to rehire me, who said, oh, well, I'm letting you go because you have a little baby at home, and we don't want to accommodate you with, because you're saying you have to pump your milk, and we don't have time for that.
All of the things.
Literally said that to me.
What?
All of the things.
Literally said that to me. And I went to, the boss, and I said, look, let me tell you something. I said, I know you, but I was like, you guys could be sued for saying that to people.
And you should be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I left, they ended up hiring me back, and, I ended up leaving anyway. But what I ended up doing, because I was I was a young mom of 2 small kids, the hours were grueling at the time. And I was like, you know what? I'm fighting 2 fronts here. You know, I'm wanting to be this amazing mother to my daughters. I want to be in this industry. Maybe I should try going corporate, So I made the shift from back of the house, because I was like, well, it's super sexist here right now. It's not fulfilling me, like you said.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me try the front of the house. Oh, sorry. I love people. So I said, let me take a stab at front of the house. And I ended up, thank God, because of transferable skills, I was able to land a job as a manager working for one of the top corporate food service companies.
Yes.
Wow, congratulations.
That's what, okay, so before we go forward, I just want to say, if you work back of house in this pandemic, if you get a job in any other field, they think that you are the best person ever because you're used to doing like 10,000 times more work.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have to be efficient 100% of the time. So like, you can get a job anywhere. Your skills are transferable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing this corporate job, and I stayed probably 5 years too long.
Oh God! I thought you were about to be like, I stayed for 5 years, and then I realized, but it was like 5 years too long. Holy shit!
Yeah.
Yeah. What I learned before it was a name of systemic racism where we were talking about it, it was a real thing. And without getting emotional, the shit that, you have to work extra hard, so hard.
Yeah.
And how they would play you against, especially being a Black woman and having African minority staff, period. And how they would, you could see how they wanted to fire somebody just for looking different. Or
they'll chalk things up to policy when half the goddamn time it's just like, it's not being led with policy, it's being led by emotion.
It's being led by emotion, especially having employees, from the community, LGBTQ community, and trying to protect them, because, he wanted to wear nail polish.
Yep.
that's who he identifies with.
Yes.
Is it really hurting anyone? You know, so, you know, it was just stuff like that I had to deal with. Obviously, every time, you know, I would, you know, transfer out, because they just would transfer us to different accounts. My replacement would always be someone who was white, younger, fresh out of school, given less, not even a fraction of the responsibilities I had to do in making more,
Yeah.
literally by $10,000 every single time.
Wow.
So every time this has happened to me, I had to realize I had to make a decision. They were never going to allow me to break that glass ceiling. And it took me moving here to Chicago and taking one more stab at it and say, hey, you know what, I'm trying this corporate thing and see what happens. And it just, I lasted there I think I resigned after 4 months.
Wow.
I was
Because
like,
it's like
this is it. I can't.
shit.
It's the same stuff.
Yeah.
I can't take it anymore.
Same shit, different market.
Yes, same shit, different market.
Yeah.
I was like, all of these talents. And most importantly, family is important to me. And when you have to literally negotiate going to your kid's spring concert,
That's that shit I don't like.
See,
or going to
yeah.
a doctor's appointment for your child,
Yeah.
or taking a vacation, or going to see a mother, or
Yeah.
take care of, like, you know, I take care of my mom.
Yeah.
Being able to go and have that time.
Yeah.
It was
this
not
is
allowed.
ringing so true with examples that we have explored in the past, to where specifically in the hospitality space, you have to present some fucking dissertation that is convincing so many people that actually don't give a shit about why you can't do X thing, because it's like, you know what, maybe I need a mental day. Maybe I need to take care of me. And also, it's none of your goddamn business.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if there's a window to have these conversations, and you're coming from an equitable place, not a point of gossip, not a point of figuring out how you're going to potentially fuck with someone's schedule, which, you know, just inevitably fucks with their money, because you don't like the fact to where you might have to do something
You
to
might
help
have to do
support
work.
them. You might have to do
work.
Yeah.
anything.
Listen, I mean, anybody who's waking up at 5:30 in the morning and not getting home till midnight, that's a fucking problem.
That's a
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can't
That's
get
a
your
problem with
time,
a real reality.
and they don't value you enough. It's very dismissive. That definitely don't validate anything.
Nope.
And when you have to, when you're busting your ass and they don't recognize that, and they're just power tripping at this point because they can. That's fucked up. Excuse my language.
No, that's it.
And I'm
That's
saying
it.
it just like that. You know, so I left. And that was the biggest FU I could possibly give. And, you know, but I valued myself more, you know, and I remember telling them when I left, I've never chased a check in my life, and I'm not about to. I'm out.
Go ahead.
All I
Lisa.
do is chase checks because I'm poor. But also it's like I am, sometimes I feel like the privilege that younger people have is that y'all are doing all this shit so that I could figure it out in 8 years.
Right.
When this is a lifetime for you.
Yeah.
And like, it just sucks that it has taken so long for the industry to have to deal with the repercussions of their actions when they've devalued so many
Right.
people from all different communities.
Yep.
Like, one of the second job that I had here, in passing, I heard one of the chefs say, well, you know, we hired you because you're all of the things. And I was like, what does that mean? He's like, you're a Black woman who is queer and an immigrant.
Great. So you're a whole bunch of check boxes on
That's it.
some
Yeah.
employment form.
And
Great. Wonderful.
ultimately,
It's
that's
nice to be
why I
minimized
left.
in that way.
Yeah.
So fuck that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's like, and then it was crazy to me because I came in and I was like, this is why I'm leaving. And everyone's like, oh yeah, we understand it. And then in the future, working with some of these people again, they were like, like one of my old bosses apologized to me because he was like, I don't understand where I was when I was blaming you for leaving, and we had to like work that night or like, you know, fill those gaps. But after learning and like having an interaction with a woman of color and understanding that like life is traumatic and it's stressful and changing, and like seeing it more in the media, it takes time for people to learn that what they were doing before was actually fucked up because no one ever told them it was fucked up.
Yeah, but then also people of color, black women very specifically, because this is relevant to what we're talking about right now, is just like black women are not a monolith. So it's like it's not this like, you know, you have to see from the sidelines of like what not to do.
But you have to, because it's not something that people were seeing before. So we can say like that all the time, but it's representation matters. And
for sure.
Like seeing someone change your opinion of like a lifetime of the government, society, telling you that black women can take more.
Yes, okay, I understand now where you're going with it. Okay.
So now it's like we have to not
because I was following it in a different.
That's why I wanted to keep going. It's like
okay.
It's not only like embracing ourselves and being like, yeah, we are strong and all these things, but also teaching other people that we're fucking women. We are people.
Yeah. We're not animals.
We're not animals, which is how it's been going this whole time. So like, I have all of these things, and people are like, oh, but you're not like other women,
right?
That's which is another thing when you're queer. It's like. So it was all of these things of me unteaching people what it was,
and deprogramming,
and then like picking and choosing my battles. Like if I'm not gonna win with you, I'm not wasting my breath. But if I feel like you are trying to understand where I'm coming from, and I'm not selling myself in the process of trying to help other people be better for me in the communities that I'm already a part of, I will do that. But I'm not gonna like let someone tell me how to be.
Yeah.
And that's what this time has been like.
For sure. And also thank you for that, like painting that very clear picture, because I mean, I just think that this is like a perfect, you know, pivot into Lisa, some of the things that you have shared. A big part of your journey has been that of sisterhood, right?
Yes.
And when it comes to the examples that Nariba just shared, there is that, you know, I feel like I use camaraderie quite often, but I mean...
But it is what it is.
But it is what it is. So there is that camaraderie of experience. There is that camaraderie of identity. There is that camaraderie of just like fucking acknowledgement, because it's like you don't even have to say anything, and it's just like y'all feel the same weight, you know, and you just know. Me personally, as a black man, it's watch me pass another black man on the street and not even say anything. It's like the eye contact, and it's just like, yep. It's just like, but we see one another.
Yes.
But like we know, and it's just.
No, I get it. And also, too, some of my closest friends that I, you know, met in the industry, there were only a few of us in there, right? I recently lost, you know, a very good friend from the industry. And, you know, I will tell you, the struggle is real. And how sometimes, you know, in the spirit of, you know, being black women, how we're pitted against each other. Whether it's classism, you know, whether it's colorism, or that whole crab in the bucket syndrome, like, oh, only one of us can make it to the top. It's sad. I am very fortunate, however, to have girlfriends that have lifted me up, you know, throughout my journey. So and a lot of them, they're not even in the industry, to be honest with you.
But they need that connection.
We need that connection. I think it's important. And it's something that I fight and strive for every day. And it goes back to that trauma, right? Because Black women, we do have trust issues. Like when we've been hurt and burned, it takes a minute for us to kind of,
come back from it.
We're very loving, nurturing beings. But when we have been scarred and burned, it makes it so much harder. And when the resources aren't there,
it becomes minimizing.
It becomes minimizing, right? And I've been very fortunate to have resources and know when to get help. When these things had happened to me, I knew to say, hey, I am a big supporter of, therapy and all of those things. Because had I not done it, I wouldn't be where I am today.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And to encourage our community to do that, like, it's okay. It literally is a safe space,
Yeah.
But a lot of times, it has a lot to do with us too, facing our own. Some of us facing our own personal demons, and coming to terms with certain things and being okay with just not being okay sometimes.
Yeah.
And stop, being when we're forced to just power through. Like you say, you went to work even though you had just lost someone. That's traumatic. And you had to power through and put on a face and just perform, and not having that care and love and support there.
And like having people actively be like, well, I've done it, so you can do it type thing.
I hate that. That is the worst thing. I'm like, I'm sorry that you don't validate your own feelings, but I care about myself. I love myself. I don't know about you.
You're like, I'm
but
happy
that's
over
not
here.
my journey. You have no right. And I tell my kids that all the time. Just because I'm your mother, it does not give me the right to disrespect you. You are not you're my gift. You are not my property. So I definitely empower my children the same way in our house.
Conversation we were talking earlier about like my sister and I growing together, and like no shade, no tea, but like her way of dealing with things is very much like old school. Well, I did all of these things and your life isn't nearly as hard because, and we had a conversation a couple of weeks back where I was like, you cannot do that. Because even though you experienced a lot and it was hard, don't think that like me or your kids and I, didn't experience anything. It's just different. Just because it's not like some weird like old people not thinking that like babies have nerve endings, that's why they didn't give them anesthetic for so long. That's what it's like emotionally.
No,
Yes.
it's
like,
true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's like a badge of honor, and it is and it isn't. Trauma is real, and I think that it has been for Black folks. I only can speak for myself and how I've been raised, but it was almost like that. You just wear it as a badge of honor, and that you went through this tough thing, and that makes you tough. But no. Right. You're walking wounded warrior. Yes, it makes us tougher, but where do we put all that? We spend a lot of time compartmentalizing. And then what happens when you run out of boxes? They start popping open like the Jack in the Box, right?
Listen.
And that's where you get those blow-ups in the workplace. And they're like, well, where the hell did this come from? Right?
Full on whack-a-mole out there.
Exactly. So it's about creating those safe spaces where we can just kind of unpack all that stuff. And I had to do a lot of unpacking before LBC could really take off and
that is
and
Lisa's
flow.
Boutique Catering.
I was
oh my God.
That in there,
but yeah.
LBC.
Yeah.
Well, coined by.
It is what it is.
Listen, okay. I was like, thank you, but
Yes.
thank you. You're fine.
And I also feel like, because I grew up moving a lot, and I never had a lot of like friends that were women or like girls, and so I think that in a way I was already sort of like prepared / groomed for this food service industry of like being a dude with the dudes,
Right.
and I found that like in the last 8 or 9 years, I've made so many more friends because of the food service industry with women in a way that I never expected to, because I was always the only woman or Black person or both in the kitchen at every place that I work at.
Yes, and that's a real
like
thing.
all the front of house ladies would be like, we will take you in. And so that's how that branched out, and that's how I know Rochelle, man, we're drinking your babitas.
Yes.
But like, it has.
We're doing real good with the drops here.
I love it.
Yes.
It's like, I just have so much more love and appreciation for women in the food service industry now over the last 5 years, because you have to like really fight tooth and nail to get through there. And I have even more respect for you if you didn't have to tear other women down to get there.
Right.
You know? And I think like the sisterhood in that sense in the food service community is real.
It really is.
Like, if you find people that are like holding you tight and together, and you can like talk to them and they're not going to like fight back with you, but like hear you, that is a dime a dozen.
It's true. That's what I said. It's a real thing. And I think for me, one thing, I'm just being older, right? I had to learn to create that space. For those wounded warriors in our community.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's just
It is
hard. And you have to, I always say, to be in this industry, you have to be a little bit crazy and be a lot crazy and passionate about it to do it, right? Because it's a thankless job at the end of the you
Right.
So
You have to be a bit of a narcissist.
you kind of do, and you
bit.
better love what
bit.
you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta love it, because this industry is not. It's love. If people on the outside, when they're, all they see is that beautiful presentation, that plate that comes to them, or that really great drink, but they don't realize what all goes into creating these experiences for them. You know, so it's
That's a big one.
So for us in the back of the house, particularly back of the house, you guys don't get to see that. The front of the house gets to see it. When they're serving
That's
it.
right.
But they also catch it if it doesn't taste good either.
Exactly.
Right? So we were always kind of protected, but I was like, damn, it'd be nice to be able to make the food and present the food and receive all,
It feels good until you get that one old lady who's like, this ocean trout is salmon and you're lying. I'm like, I broke the fish down this morning. I have pictures of it. I got the tags, like all this stuff. And so, but like, but
like,
that's
the
also
receipts
our fault.
shall
That
be
is
provided.
hilarious.
It's
But yes,
requested.
That's also our fault though, because media and food and beverages make people feel like they know your job now.
of course.
Right.
Okay,
But also-
the eye just now was amazing.
Like,
I agree. And that wasn't planned. I truly agree on the eye comment.
That was
Yes.
a good one. Yeah.
So as I'm sitting here, I have a small, small element of jealousy, because I do wonder, and I'm recapping all of the time that I've spent in the industry and trying to not equate the male perspective, the male experience. I do wonder if I have experienced any sort of brotherhood in the industry, and I believe that I have found that as people have exited the industry, because then they can be more of themselves and be more vulnerable, because they can just get into like all the fucking facets of this
feel like
goddamn
it's
industry.
a
But it's like,
fraternity.
It's like
yeah,
a-
it's a
I almost
it's a
want to call
boys'
it like Gladiator
yeah,
too.
yeah,
It's
it's like a boys' club, and so
is.
once you hit certain thresholds, it becomes cool to like lean on your colleague to be like, this is the person that really helped me get X far. But it's only when it becomes a point of reflection for yourself. And it's very interesting for me to sit here to kind of have like this very just real-time comparison and being like, well, we gotta do better, my dudes.
right.
Like, I mean, yes, and yeah,
No,
Yeah.
it's true. It's
Yeah.
true. And I mean, honestly, I've saw the competition in the kitchen amongst the dudes, right?
Right.
It's hard.
It's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah,
It's
all these
very-
quote unquote alphas trying to figure out, just
Listen.
whose shit it is. And it's like, yep, like, I mean, is that a tweezer in your hand? Yes, it is, okay? And like, that is fine because you are owning your creativity, but also do so with some empathy and grace, and have that carry through reality, not just the performance
Yep.
of the industry.
Exactly.
I mean, okay, so I'm going to put this story out here because we were talking about, like, some of the negative experiences around being a woman in the food service industry. I literally had a conversation with a line cook at the time because he was trying to use, what the hell is that thing that more restaurants should have, but they don't?
Health insurance?
Well, yes.
That.
I'm talking about that
Amen.
book,
That.
that book that with the rules,
A
handbook,
yeah, handbook.
like an employee handbook, that thing.
Yeah.
He was trying to use like things from the employee handbook to stop me from having a conversation with another line cook who was like trying to have a conversation about how to talk to women if you want to date them. And he was like, I feel like some of the things that you're bringing up don't fit this context, but like in front of everyone. And he's like a white dude that I worked with at another restaurant, but he wasn't offered the sous chef position, and I
Okay.
was. So
Got
we
it.
were co-workers before, and now I'm in charge of him. And he wanted to like do this because he was upset. And I had to pull him aside to the office after service and have this conversation with him because I was like, and he was like yelling and getting aggressive
Yep.
and big and shit with me. And I'm just like in this office thinking to myself, this is like a job interview situation where you are losing your mind
Yep.
and you think you can do it with me and with these other white dudes because it's been made acceptable. You've not been reprimanded for these actions.
Correct.
And because I like had a conversation with him and I was like, the reason why you didn't get this job is because of this, what's happening right now. You don't
Right.
know how to talk to people. You don't know how to like not be overly emotional, which is like, as a woman telling you that in this time is freaking crazy.
Well, I'll be honest. Emotional intelligence is a real thing.
Yes.
And clearly, it sounds like he lacks it. So,
Right.
And it was like,
Yes.
in that moment with me giving him like examples of why it is he didn't get that job, he was like, yeah, I know, but like I want it so bad. I was like, yeah, there's a difference between wanting it and working for it. And I busted my ass to get offered a sous chef position.
Yeah.
I worked for this chef for like 3 years. You came in 6 months before the restaurant shut down and you were expecting what?
Right.
Like,
That's the
and,
privilege.
and that's the thing, that's the privilege. And when I tell people like that's an experience that I had outside of the food service industry, they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? But in the food service industry, it's like, oh yeah, that's regular.
Right.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, and that's the culture, right? That has been created.
Yeah,
And it's crazy.
it's crazy.
And it doesn't matter. So my point earlier was it didn't matter that I left the actual restaurant industry and went to corporate food service. It's all the
That
same
was at a hotel.
shit. Right.
Yeah.
It's all the same shit.
All of it. All of it. And this reminds me, and it's a longer story, but I'm just going to go ahead and abbreviate it. So the handbook comment reminded me of this. So years ago, restaurant, someone overheard how a manager was speaking to me, and it was, as the kids would say, quite out of pocket. And they decided that they were saying something to me directly. This was a colleague, by the way. He's just like, yo, like, are you okay? Like, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, I'm fine. Like, I don't, like, I don't give a shit. He then decided that he was going to make a comment on my Facebook wall. And because we all know how Facebook does the things, it just let people know that a comment was made on my wall and just shows up on newsfeed. The only reason why I'm bringing this up is because the next time that I worked after this shift, I was pulled into, the private dining area, and this gentleman who completely fucking disrespected me was damn near close to trying to fire me because of the actions of a white man, and as was dictated by policy in a handbook, because I was the one in the wrong when I was the one that was getting cursed out.
Wow.
And I didn't do anything to like protect my space on that, but not my space, but
I'm losing
my personal space.
Oh my God.
And just to sit there and be like, you know what, this isn't it. But then when I brought up how ridiculous I felt this was, like, well, Justin, aren't you just being a little emotional or dramatic?
Yep.
And I flat out said to this individual, I'm just like, am I being emotional or dramatic because I am a man, or I'm being emotional and dramatic because I'm a black gay man in front of you right now?
Right.
Or because I'm just talking about
Or
it.
because I'm just talking about it.
Or
Like,
because you just humiliated me
Yeah,
and
right.
and berated
Right.
me, and we're supposed to just take that shit.
Right. And
Yeah,
so
no.
I'm just like, it's interesting because you just have to wonder, like, it's like that culture of this alpha male and how it literally transcends all elements, not just the kitchen, not just the back of house, not just, these corporate ecosystems. It's just like, what are we doing? And it's shit like that helps further the divide and makes us feel less like a fucking community.
Exactly.
Because there's infighting within the ecosystems that we're all trying to
Exactly.
fucking build here.
Exactly.
And it's like, it makes it even more difficult to like protect our women, to protect ourselves, to like actually, it has a bigger community impact. And this person knows exactly who the hell they are. And if they are listening, I am down to, revisit that bullshit. But it's so unique, but it's typical,
Yes.
right? And so if dudes are doing that to dudes, it's just like, how can we all just like be like, it becomes catty. It just becomes like stupid as hell.
Yep.
And also, for the record, for those that are wondering, I did not lose my job because I didn't do a goddamn thing wrong. So
Yeah.
there's
Good for
that.
you.
Damn
I
right.
love it.
Thank you. I was like, there's that. We are good here.
I mean, if I had...
Don't talk to me about a handbook. Peace. Go talk to him. And also,
Yeah.
the person that wrote that, who I absolutely respect, they unfortunately lost their job
Oh wow.
because I went against their policy.
Wow.
Listen,
So.
if I had $1 for every day that I had to continue to work with a man that abused me verbally at work, I wouldn't need a job.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be
Because I'd be getting paid like $15, $25 per day.
Yep.
For
every
life.
day. For life.
for,
Get out of here.
for life. So yes, as we're wrapping up, I want to briefly talk about your business, Lisa. Lisa's Boutique Catering, Coffee Girl Coffee Cakes, and the really not only like unique perspective that you have on it, but how you're looking to really extend your growth and your mission to be just this shining light within,
Yes.
a dim industry at
Right.
times.
Like, I mean, I started following you before Justin because your aesthetic was amazing. And two, it's like you're a black business owner. That shit's rare.
And don't point at me, Lisa. That was not my aesthetic, okay? That is all you, okay?
I know, but Biko, I got to give a shout out to Biko.
All day.
I have to say that what I do is so much bigger than me, right? It is so much bigger. What my mission is, at the end of the day, is healing people through food.
The original form of social work.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep.
And it's not, and not in even an unhealthy way, like where I'm like, oh, I just want to feed people and make them, I mean, like bringing them into the kitchen, educating people, educating our community about how to take care of themselves. I've lost so many, my family, people not making it to 70 years old should not happen. You know what I mean? Having grandmothers die before they were able to reach 70, some of them before they were able to reach 60. You know, I mean, that should not be happening in our communities. So it's just so much bigger than me. But, you know, in the meantime, I get to have fun, be creative, do what I love, fill my soul, fill my cup, take care of myself. Self-care is very important, and it's for those of us who are entrepreneurs out here in these streets. And it's the example I want to leave, you know, show my children. You don't have to kill yourself to make money.
Damn right.
You know, but
Attacked.
you know, I definitely
I feel attacked, but it's okay. I'm working on it.
We're gonna strap you to a beach chair somewhere, Justin. You need it. You know, but yeah, you know, I just look to the, you know, the founding, you know, Black women of you know, entrepreneurship. Madam C.J. Walker, you know, Dookie Chase, you know, B. Smith, may she rest in peace. You know, so many women, Oprah Winfrey, Maya Angelou, God, you know, there's just so many women who have experienced and had to triumph, you know, so I would love to take that energy and spirit of those women and just kind of cover myself in it and do my life's work. My real work is service, community service. And I get to do it through food. And that's honestly, you know, I get to take my two loves, you know, of people and wanting to just service my community and cook and feed people. That's my jam.
Like, I think that for me, watching women in the food service industry, specifically Black women who want to have a career and they want to have a family and want to have like a life of their own, watching women make the choice to leave the food service industry to have a family used to be a thing that I saw and I was like, why are you doing this to yourself?
Right.
But as someone who like wants to have a family, and I fought so hard to like work my way through these ranks, I could get to a point where maybe if I'm successful enough, I can be pregnant at work and it be a thing that is fine. But the fact that you have to leave and create your own thing as a woman in the food service industry to exist within it still is annoying as hell.
I know.
When
I know.
I see like these dudes who have like kids working these ragged hours, and it's like, but what about your wife though? Like, not even acknowledging the work that women who are at home, or like childbearing people who are at home taking care of their children. It's like, I feel like men just don't really think about how much of a sacrifice having a family is to not them.
Exactly.
You know?
Yep.
And I think that like with me in this time, because of the panini, I've really been able to be like, I know for sure I want to have a family and I would like to have it in this time frame, but I know that there's no way for me to do that in the food service industry as it stands right now. And the only way to do it is to like do the work to change what's already happening and make it better for like the next young woman who is like, I want to be, I was gonna say Rachel Ray because I grew up watching 30-minute meals. But whoever the new person is, you know, whoever you're watching on TV right now and being like, I want to grow up and be like her, you don't have to like put your life on hold to do that.
Exactly.
You can do it all at once. Yeah. Because we're just human beings.
That's it.
Right.
That's not, sorry. That was my rant.
Well, we're wrapping up now, and I want to keep going, but Lisa, thank you so much. Also, I hope that you would join us again. We would
I would love
to have
to.
you.
This was so much fun.
Thank you. I, just have to do the things that we know to do. So once again, thank you so much to our friends at Blind Barber for hosting this necessary conversation. We are currently without our lovely director of beverage, Ashley Christine of Garnet. She is not with us on this episode, but we feel her here because we love her so much.
We love Ashley.
So and thank you to Rochelle Mayan for sliding in with Juanita's Bebidas.
Yes.
Ashley, I'm sorry you can't try them. They're fucking great.
They are fire.
You can pick up these beverages via Juanita's Bebidas on Instagram and at Snack It Chicago. They were delicious, delightful.
So delicious.
As well. And they are also vegan versions, so get in there. In Abuelita, we trust.
Yes. Yes. And again, thank you so much to our producer, Max. Yes, thank you for keeping us on task and making sure that we're hitting all of our wonderful marks with our lovely guests. So thank you so very much. And in closing, this is Justin Arnett Graham, and you can find me on Instagram at What's Bico. Lisa, how do we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Chef Lisa Shaw.
That's right.
Right. And it's me, your girl, Nariba, and you can find me at Rebaru, Rebaru on Instagram, and that's the whole thing.
That's a wrap.